I'm on the way up. Yeah, been a long, long time coming, but I'm on the way up. Been a long, long time coming, but I'm on the way up.
Morning everybody, this is Phil Beckwith, the professional painter and decorator. Now, sorry it's a bit echoey, I'm actually on a job. I'm not always in the YouTube studio doing YouTube videos in there with Doris and Dave. Sometimes I do actually work. Yeah, I know everybody says I don't work anymore, but it's only Fridays that I don't actually pick up a paintbrush and actually do anything manual. That said, I'm on a job at the moment, and the way it's going, I thought I've got to bring my little camera and do some filming of this staircase, because there's a few little things that have come up against that I thought it was I'm going to say very beneficial to actually do a video to help anybody that might come up against the same sort of things. Now, I don't know whether you can see what's around me. I'll try and go up and track my face more than anything else, but the customers had all the wallpaper stripped off the walls by another decorator. That's another story, but the walls weren't very good, and she decided to actually have everything plastered. So everything's had a plaster skim over it, and we've come in now to sort everything out and make it really nice for her. But as I say, this video is more about some problems that you could come up against and how actually you get around them or actually sort out the problem. A lot of people think that, I don't want to say it, but anybody can paint. Now, yes, everybody can paint, not everybody can decorate. Now, there seems to be a lot of issues that you can get with painting and decorating that people come up against and stumble and fall. Now, I'm obviously here with a YouTube channel that tries to help people along their way if they're a DIYer, an amateur, semi-pro, professional. I've probably covered a lot of things that might have been a little bit of a stumbling block for you. So I'm going to move the camera around. I'm just going to show you what I've actually done in here so far, and we will start talking about some of the products that I've actually used to try and overcome these problems that I've got. So bear with me, I'm going to swivel the camera and we'll get back into this video. Right, I'm just at the bottom of the staircase. Clearly you can see we've got a bare plaster wall all the way around. The ceilings are exactly the same, and we've got a dado and dado rail going around here. And you're looking at it thinking, well, Phil, what have you done? You've sanded that down to an inch of its life. Yes, I'm going to come on to that in a moment. But for now, I just want to sweep round and give you an idea where we are actually downstairs. Upstairs is very much the same, so I'm going to talk you through it now. So here we are, let's just have a look. We've got bare plaster. Now, what have I done to all this bare plaster? And you can clearly see that I've got some paint on that ceiling. And if I point you upstairs, I've done exactly the same up there. Now, when I came into this house, there was obviously plaster, just little remnants over the tops of the rails and a little bit paint. Well, I'll say paint I can't say paint splashes, it was plaster splashes over the walls. So what I did to prepare all this, I actually went round just with a scraper and a worn sanding pad. You've seen these before, and just went over the walls, likely to knock any bits of plaster that the plasterer had probably accidentally splashed or not made corners neat. I'd scrape those and actually sharpen them all up. Now, that also was done around the tops of the dado rail. I scraped those with a scraper, made them all nice and sharp and neat, and sanded just lightly the walls down. Now, I'm not saying going on with a Merker, it doesn't need that, but I just went round and just got any little nibs off the surface ready for me actually getting these brought forward. And you're going to say, Phil, what did you do with this bare plaster that we can see in front of us? Well, I'm going to say to you, these walls are going to be wallpapered. Now, what I've done, I've not sized these walls. I've not used guards on these walls. I have used this product. You can see it here, it's the BeeLine Primer Sealer. Now this is a product you can actually thin down and actually use as a primer coat over surfaces. Now the dilution ratio is either a 1:3 or a 1:1, which is a 50% mix. And you can actually go over bare plaster with it and it actually soaks in nicely, gives you a surface that's then not porous. And it also allows you, because you have got something on that surface, if you do need to do any filling, it isn't going to make that filler and the moisture of the filler soak straight into the wall. So what I've actually done, once I've cleaned all the walls down and dusted everything off, I went over that bare plaster that is going to be wallpapered with a lining paper to start with. I've gone over it with the BeeLine Primer Sealer. That has given me a lovely surface now to work over. The reason I use this is because if any of the paste, if you traditionally went over the walls with a size, i.e. a paste, and it went over onto your woodwork, I don't want any paste over any of the surfaces that I'm going to be painting. Now this BeeLine Primer Sealer doesn't matter if it goes onto any other surfaces because it is something that you can paint over. So all these walls here, all your bare walls ready for papering, have been sealed with BeeLine Primer Sealer. Now you're looking at the ceilings. Now the ceilings, again, these are going to be painted. I've got some coving arriving, so in the meantime I've just put a wash coat over those ceilings. Not very big. I've used a brush, and the paint that I've used is no longer available at Screwfix, and it is, if you can see it, I'll put it on top of my marker there. It is, can you see? It's the No Nonsense Trade Bare Plaster Sealer. Now I'm going to say this is a product you can use straight out the tin, but what I did, I mixed up and thinned a little bit of this just to apply it by brush over the ceiling, so I didn't have any heavy brush marks. You can see that there, it's really nicely on, and I've gone over all those ceilings downstairs and upstairs with a wash coat that is quite thin of that No Nonsense Bare Plaster Primer. Now Screwfix don't sell that anymore. I believe that their new brand is Fortress, and you can get Fortress Bare Plaster paint as well. Now I know some people are going to say, Phil, you can use thin down emulsion. Yes, you can. Always read the back of the can, but I do prefer to use something that is more dedicated for bare plaster, whether it be Tikkurila Optiva primer or actually go into something that is more suitable for bare plaster priming. Another one that is a really good product to use, and I'm going to spin round. Another product that's really good to use over bare plaster, and you might have seen it in the videos that I've done before, is the Isomat 2-in-1, which is also very suitable for going over bare plaster and bringing that to a surface suitable for actually painting on at a later stage, like these ceilings will be. But right, the next thing, I'm going to swivel around again and show you something. Below the dado rail, that is being painted. Now that again was cleaned down, and I just went over with a very fine sander. I've got it down here, that sander, just to take any of the imperfections off the surface. Now once that was done and it was all dusted off, and if you can just see top edge of the skirting, the new skirting had cork in it, which I had to remove, the same as round where the new sills have been fitted. That had to be removed. Now what I did, once these walls, dado wall areas were all cleaned down, I've actually put a mist coat of the No Nonsense Trade Bare Plaster Primer on there as well, because then that gives me a surface that I can actually fill any imperfections that still might need to be filled. You can see the radiators now come off. And now today you're going to say, Phil, it's all sanded down with a marker. Yes, it is, because what I did yesterday, I went round any of the under edges. You can see my finger, any of the under edges under the dado that needed a bit of a fill, I went round with this product, and I'm going to come down and show you. It's the Isomat GB cover. It's like a roll-on plaster. It's a joint filler and skim coat. Now it's quite thin, it's nice to apply, and it dries really well and easy to sand. So what I did, I went around all these bottom edges and filled up all those as it needed to be done. Likewise, across the top edge, I've actually done some filling as well. And on that instance, I used the 2 Fussy Blokes filler because that's a quick drying filler. That's all now been sanded down, and I did go over this dado area with the Merker to get rid of any, you can see, polished areas where it's actually highlighted relief. Now the plan is, now that's been coated up and it's actually been dusted off, I want to go over all of that, because it will be painted, with Zinsser Gardz. Now the reason I'm going to use Zinsser Gardz is because that will actually bind any of that bare plaster primer. It will cut down any dust. It's for porous surfaces, as you can see what it says on the tin, and it will give me a nice clear surface to be able to see anywhere that needs some more filling. Whereas if I went back over this with a bare plaster primer, I would then be struggling to probably see the areas that I need to fill again and go over with a little bit more fine surface filler. So that's what I'm going to be doing this morning, going over that there, because never fill on top of bare substrates before you've actually put a primer on it, because likewise the skirting boards, the windowsills, if you fill those before you actually prime them, all the moisture of the filler gets soaked into that substrate and then fails at a later date. Whereas if you've actually primed these surfaces before you actually fill them, you will actually get a better finish. Now, these bare pieces of wood, any of the knots, I've sprayed with a rattle can of Zinsser bin a couple of times over the knots. That will seal the knot areas. So that is all good to go when you actually come with your primer. Now the primer that I used on these bits of bare wood at the moment, lovely product, I really like it, is the Hanford and Green, and it's the all-purpose primer in white. Now this is a product that goes on really well. The opacity is nice with it. It's ideal for priming surfaces like this. There's also a grip element to the product, so it actually gives you a good grip surface to work with. It also, and one of the main key features with the Hanford and Green, it dries really quickly. You can be recoating over that easily with the right conditions in an hour. So I would say check out Hanford and Green. There's a playlist in the corner that I've done previously. You can probably have a look at that. But Hanford and Green, ideal for actually priming surfaces before you're actually needing to paint with an undercoat. So that's where I am with all these surfaces at the moment. Right, we're cracking on with this video. We're just telling you about the products that I've actually been using so far. We've talked about the bare surfaces of the plastered ceilings, which have used the bare plaster primer, and we've gone over these bare plaster walls that will be wallpapered with a lining paper to start with, and I've used the BeeLine Primer Sealer. Brilliant product, but the main reason for this video is a problem that I had, and I'm going to swivel you around, and it's on the actual dado rail itself. So let's just have a look at that. Here's the dado rail. You can actually see it going round. Now I came to clean this down and sand it of any plaster that had splashed on it, and I was noticing a lot of the paint was coming away. Now it was coming away not because it was gloss on gloss, it was more of a case, I think this has been a varnished surface and it hadn't been prepared correctly with giving it a grip, i.e. sanding it down for a key. And I think what's happened is it's been painted over the years and it's not really adhered to the actual varnish that was on there before. Now there's quite a few areas that have just started to come away, and I was starting to think, what am I going to do with this? We've not allowed, and I think a lot of you will actually say, when you come up against this, it all looks fine, but then when you start scraping it, you could be forever and a day removing that off that wood dado rail. I'll show you, it's all the way around, everywhere's got some of it coming off. You can see that. And I was thinking to myself, what are we going to do to this? Because there's no way I could spend the time allocated to actually scraping and sanding that all off. So what have I done to actually stop that getting any worse? This is one you need to remember. If you've got flaking and peeling paint on surfaces like that, whether it be door frames, it could be actually doors, and you're scraping it and you can see it just coming away and it's peeling off, and you're thinking, what am I going to do? Do you know what? Give it a sand down, do the best you can with it, dust it off, and then give it some of the Zinsser PeelStop. Now Zinsser PeelStop is one of these products that you can use inside and outside, and one of the main features with it, I don't know whether you can see it on there, glues down old paint edges. Now this is the problem that I'd got on these actual dado rails. The paint edge was peeling, so I needed to put something on it that would bind it, and I'm going to use the word loosely. It glues down those peeling edges. Now I did that yesterday. It dries pretty quickly, and you know what? It is really solid. I'm not seeing any areas that I could just get my nail and piggle at it and it comes away. Now, if you want to go to town on it and you want to sand it, you would get it back off. But for this job, it doesn't warrant that. And this is where we've got problems with painting and decorating, and some people don't know how to actually sort out problems that they come up against. Well, this is a problem. I'm going to say it's one of these products that actually gets you out of the proverbials, because these areas now are all bound down. And what I'm going to be doing after my last little bit of filling and sanding around those top edges, I'm going to go with the Hanford and Green all-purpose primer, and I'm going to prime all that dado out so it has actually now then looks even in colour. It's also going to act as a grip primer for anything that goes over the top. So that's what my day is going to be today, priming that out, and then also I'm going to go over these dado areas behind me with the Zinsser Gardz, because that will give me a decent surface. If I need to do any fine surface filling over that dado area, then that will be fine for me to actually paint over with the undercoat, because all these dados are going to be painted with the dado rail colour and the skirting colour. Now this is always the bone of contention when you're having to work over plasterer's work, particularly when you're painting it, and particularly when you're using a paint that's got a sheen level that will be very critical for any surfaces to be very umpidori. I would say it's a trade term, that umpidori. You know, if it's not very smooth, it's going to show things up more. If you use a paint that is a matte paint, it's less likely to be critical, but the more sheen or gloss level you've actually got, the more it's going to show up any imperfections. So hopefully, with me doing as much filling and sanding as I possibly can at this stage, where the wash coat of the bare plaster primer has been on, I might have helped me to actually make it easier going forward to actually do any fine surface filling. There shouldn't be very much now. That wash coat has actually highlighted any areas that actually need addressing. Just as we're looking around at all this dado, I've always wanted, and I've said it earlier, always fill once you've actually got something on a surface to stop any, the porosity. These walls were actually sealed with the BeeLine Sealer, and actually the PeelStop was on all this dado before I actually filled any of this area. Now once that is then primed, I will go round and caulk that edge very neatly to make it nice, ready for me to paper up against. And you're going to say, Phil, what have you got for caulking? Do you know, at the moment I'm going to get it there for you. I am loving the PeelStop cork. It is interior, exterior. There's a flexibility, and you can see it there, of a 12%, 12.5% one way or the other. It doesn't crack on me like some corks I've had before previously, and it is just an all-round really good cork, and it's not very expensive. I think these tubes are around about £2.60 a tube, and that's one of the big 300ml tubes as well. You can see there, Dripless Caulk Gun, worth its weight in gold. They're about £20 off Amazon, and if you check out the description below, I have a link to my Amazon storefront where all these things can be purchased. And I will say, I only get a small commission from Amazon and not the people that are selling these, because I'm not sponsored, I am not endorsing anything. It's just I have an Amazon storefront to help people if they need some products to buy. So this is what I'll be using for caulking up. Brilliant product. I'm going to say to you, there's probably some videos at the end. This isn't so much of a how-to video. It was more of a case of, if you come up against problems like I've just mentioned here, this is how I'm addressing it, and this is what I'm going to do with it. And I know you're probably saying to me, Phil, what paints are you using? I am going to be using Caprol paint, so the woodwork is actually going to be in PU gloss, because the gloss level is only at about a 60-65% sheen level, which is a very decent sheen of satin. It's not going to be gloss, and it goes quite a nice pleasant finish once it's actually dried. And also there's that PU element to it that makes it very hard wearing for handrails and null posts and things like that. But I'm on a job that's, the customer is lovely, she's really nice. She is actually very much appreciative of what I'm actually doing with all the sanding that I'm doing and preparing, and she is also very understanding that this is an old house, so she is not expecting perfection, but she is actually wanting a proper job done, and that's why I'm here. I'm going to do the best I can for her. So again, please watch the videos at the end. Thanks for listening to me. Any questions about any products, or if you've got any issues with the job that you're on at the moment, please give us some comments below. I am very much qualified in painting and decorating to help as many people as possible. So catch you on the next one. Thank you very much.